Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan. Everybody, by the way, like Shannon, Glenn, you guys know I love you guys, and amazing share. I got 20 minutes and I feel like I could talk about this for hours and days on end. Um, I I'm perplexed. One is I think we really don't understand or how to measure success in TA. And I'm going to get into it a little bit. The quote I love to share is if you suck at recruiting, great recruiting technology will allow you to suck much faster. That's my dog Tucker. For those who don't know, follow me at timsackett.com. Glenn mentioned this, and I'll mention it as well because I heard this from a CEO just the other day. It's the same thing as like we have to have like this crazy, like you better have AI in your strategy or blah blah blah, right? It's getting like every CEO is kind of like running at all their functional leaders doing this, and the reality is when I sit down with either a CPO, CHRO, or somebody like that, they're just kind of like they don't even know where to start. And for the most part, I see them kind of just waiting on the higher EZs of the world and everybody else to kind of come and say, okay, here's the thing. We're going to turn it on for you. And this will be your AI. Cool, but still, is it really what we're doing? Right now, 90%, and I could probably change this and say 100%, let's say 99% of TA departments use this one single measure for TA success. You guys know what it is. It's time to fill. And you're like, well, but Tim, I can't get rid of time to fill because my CEO, every single, board meeting every month ask me for this data. No, they don't. I mean, they might, but the only reason they're asking for that data is because that's all we've given them. So they think it's important. They think that, oh, if we hire faster, we're better. And just because you can correlate two things, it has very little to do with causation. And I could argue the exact same, like, hey, if we actually slow down a little bit, maybe we would hire better. Maybe we're going too fast. That's the exact same correlation that you're saying faster, better. Now, I understand the speed side of it of going, well, if it's taking us 90 days or 6 months and we're losing out on business, clearly you have a speed problem, right? You have to be able to do that faster. But once you get into the ballpark of it, if you know it takes you 30 days to hire an engineer in your marketplace and you're at 29 or you're at 31, you're no better or worse. You're the same. It's fine. You're in the ballpark. At that point, now we should focus on other things. It's a health metric at best for TA. Now, people always they'll do the one-off. Well, what about a sales position? Revenue per day, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. I'll give you that one, right? But you can't tell me that all these other positions that the 0.3 days, blah, 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 is going to make a difference. And here's why I know this is because we're measuring success. Our CEOs are measuring success of TA versus how we're measuring success. They're not connected. When I go in and work with the TA team, and I usually meet with the executive team, and I'll take a look at the data that I'm given, and they're like, oh yeah, like our TA team's, fully bonus the last 5 years, we're awesome. And the CEO will go, we're garbage. We suck at recruiting. And you're like, well, wait a minute. Then how are they bonusing? Like what? They're amazing. And it's because they went from 37 days time to fill to 36.7. And you're like, oh, we did so much better. And you're like, no, you didn't. You're the same. Anyways, so how are we going to fix this? I'm going to give you some fixes now because we have to level set to where we're currently at. And then we're going to talk about, some of the actual like AI stuff that I want to get involved in. If you're not measuring the funnel, you have to measure the funnel. I'm going to tell you why we have to measure the funnel. There's a lot of reasons, but I think there's one really, really big, giant reason we have to do this. And it's really a TA leader perspective of why we have to do this for the business. Most of you know, especially like the people in this community that we're talking with, like how important this is, but we tend not to want to measure the funnel because it feels micromanaging. I'll talk about that. The quality of applicant for me is the one that has the hugest upside. It sends a huge message. And when I talk about quality of applicant, what I'm talking about is I'm a recruiter. I have a job. I go out. I do all the clickety-clack. I work with the AI. I work with Hire Easy. I find a candidate, send it to a hiring manager. And what we normally do, and we know this, is we'll send 5, 10, candidates to a hiring manager, and they'll come back and say, okay, I want Tim and I want Shannon and I want Glenn. Okay, I want to interview those 3. Quality of applicant then is, if you sent them 10, is 30%. That's terrible. Quality of applicant, I think should be at 90%. That means if I send you 10, 9 of those automatically they should just say, I want to interview. And I actually believe it should be 100%. And we'll talk about that. I'll give them 90 because we might send them a candidate that they actually know. And they'll say, hey, I understand why you sent me Tim. And I mean, good guy, like, solid worker, blah, blah, blah. But not quite right for this position because of this one thing that maybe he's more back end than front end, whatever, right? I'll give the hiring manager 1. Other than that, I just want an automatic, yep, let's go. Let's do this. Quality of applicant to me sends the biggest message to the relationship side of the recruiter and the hiring manager, and also how the organization actually respects recruiting and talent acquisition. High quality of applicant, low quality of applicant starts to tell you the story of what's really going on in your business. Quality of hire is a completely different thing. To me, it's not a TA metric at all. It's a hiring manager metric, could be an organizational metric, shared metric, but it's not a TA metric solely. And then that's why I would tell you, I never put myself in position as a TA leader to ever be measured with something I don't control the outcome. I don't control the outcome because I don't pick the person, I don't onboard the person, I don't train the person, I don't performance manage the person. Thus, I don't even have very little impact to the overall quality of hire that's taking place. Now, if you want me to select and onboard, train, blah, 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 like I'd own the quality of hire for my own recruiting team, but not for the engineering team unless you're letting me make the selection. Focus on conversion, and this is another one that I think is a giant miss in the corporate world, is we're addicted to more top of funnel candidates. We're addicted to programmatic and Indeed and LinkedIn and all these things. We just need jam more candidates into the top of the funnel. When in reality, when you actually really take a look at your conversion and start to measure conversion at your career site and on the job, immediately we don't need more candidates. We need to convert more of the candidates we have coming. All of the data, will show that even if you're really good, you might get into the 7 to, kind of 8, 9%. If you start to really do AI kind of application, kind of conversational apply stuff, you start to see that number really clicking up in the low skill, no skill. But you can also see it click up into the, kind of white collar positions as well. But what I find is, again, it's probably close to 75 to 80% of the Fortune 5,000 TA leaders have no idea what their conversion is. And to me, that's shameful. Like, that's the one thing that you're like, no, I need to know that, because I'm asking my CFO to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on these really cool tools. And yet I don't even know what the conversion is. Like, that's crazy to me. And then the other piece of that I really want focus on in terms of like this kind of measurement of success is what percent of our applicants are actually making it into the process. And so when I say when I say with that process side of it, take a look at just a normal example. I have a position A, 100 people apply. Normally, and this is still happening today, even with all this talk of AI, recruiter jumps in to the ATS. They look at some candidates, probably look at maybe 15 or 20. They send out some outreach. They probably screen 5, 6, 7, whoever comes back to them first, jam those people over to the hiring manager. And then so what we're saying is, like, in the applicant side, that we only had 20% actually make it into the process. 80% didn't even get a sniff. Candidates hate our guts because they call us a black hole, when in reality, we know we just don't have capacity. It's why I love AI, because I truly believe if we care about inclusion, then we're gonna leverage AI, because now I have 100% of my candidates actually getting in at bat, getting a chance to be a part of the process. Where right now, I can't. I talked to a TA leader the other day in a white collar job, and she's like, "Then we're averaging 750 applicants per job." Her recruiters, even if they only had 5, 6 recs a month, could never go through 750 applicants to determine who should we really focus on and who do we care. Again, quality of hire, LinkedIn says it's the #1 priority for 2025. By the way, it was also for 2024, 2023, 2022. Everyone said, like, every HR person, CHRO thinks quality of hire is so important. And yet none of us agree on how to measure it. So is it really important? Or is it just because we can't measure it that we think it's important because it's another one of those subjective measures that we go, yay, our team's doing amazing. We're fully bonus because we increased our quality of hire. And then you go, well, how did you do that? And it's like, oh, well, because people stayed around for 90 days. Like, what? Come on, we're better than that. The funnel is so important because of this right here, recruiting capacity. When your C-suite comes to you, when your operations team comes to you and they said, hey, in the fourth quarter, we need to increase hiring by 20%, or next year, we're going to increase our hiring by 1,000 people because we're opening more locations. Here's what typically happens with the TA leader. They go, oh my gosh, that's amazing. We're going to work 24/7. We're going to make it happen. And then they get fired like within 12 to 18 months. We see this in our industry constantly. TA leaders getting fired, or knowing they're going to get fired, they leave before they get fired. And so you see this churn 12, 18 months. I can go right now on LinkedIn and find 5,000 profiles of TA leaders that every 12 to 18 months they're changing because they suck so bad that they know they're going to get fired, or they have gotten fired, but they go find another job. This is because they're not delivering any kind of recruiting capacity. A recruiting capacity is simply reversing the math in the funnel and going, okay, hey, if I know it takes 25 applicants to get to 7 screens, to get to 4 interviews, to get to 1 hire, I know, and then I know how much it takes to get, how much money it takes, or how much effort and focus and time it takes for a recruiter to get 25 applicants into the top of the funnel, or whatever that might take. I can start to reverse engineer the math to go, oh my gosh, I have 10 recruiters and my recruiters are working at 85% capacity. Thus, I have 15% more capacity, which equals this many more hires. And when my president came to me and said, I need 100 more hires, I could actually go, cool, I can give you 30, right? If you want the other 70, here's exactly the levers we need to pull. I need to hire some recruiter capacity. I need to put some more, money into some advertising. I need to buy some more tools like HireEZ, whatever that might be. And now I'm having a business conversation about how we can actually drive this business. And I'm not hoping that I can actually deliver what they want to deliver. And yet, again, I could talk to 100 TA leaders and ask them what their recruiter capacity is, and maybe one could give me this number. And yet every CFO or CEO I sit with, they're just like, this, that would be amazing. Could you do that? Can you give us that right now? How can we do this? Are you measuring your funnel? No. Why? Oh, because, recruiters, that feels like it's micromanaging them. Like, come on, we have to get better than that. Let's talk about some AI stuff. We need to reimagine TA success within AI, because if we know 75% of the task stuff can be done within the funnel by AI, and I could do that right now, I could turn that stuff on right now and have 75% of the tasky stuff done. Is it going to be better? It's probably going to be about the same or better in some aspects. But if we don't fully home the recruiter, does the funnel even matter? I would say it matters just as much, because again, go back to what's our capacity. AI might increase our capacity. It might change our capacity numbers. It might change speed. It might do a lot of things, but I still need to know exactly what that is. But then we have to start to go, okay, well, what are we really measuring? If I could turn on AI, do 75% of the task work, okay, cool. Now my AI is doing the farming. I'm still going to measure the farming because that's important, but I really need then my real recruiters, my human recruiters, to go hunt, to go out and actually find the better talent that's not applying, that's not looking, to actually nurture those people in. It's old school recruiting in a lot of ways. I get asked the question all the time, are we been then back to measuring passive candidates? And I'm like, one is no, because there's no passive candidate. Everybody is interested in your job given the right circumstance. So, but we do have to measure things differently. So then, is it targeted recruitment? Is it talent build? Is it talent saves? There's going to be this creation of a lot of these success metrics that we don't even know yet, but we're going to start to see these things being tested in the wild, and people are going to start to figure out, okay, if AI is doing this over here, I can't measure my human recruiters in the same way. So what has the real impact? To me, that's what makes me so hopeful for all of this, is because we're reinventing a lot of this stuff to go, okay, Now all the stuff I didn't have capacity to do because I was overwhelmed with top of funnel and screens and trying to set up interviews and do all this stuff. Now I have this giant capacity to be able to go do some really cool things. It forces us to say, how are we really measuring how we're increasing talent into the organization? Taking a broader view of talent acquisition to say, is it only about getting people hired? Or is it about simply this concept of increasing talent? I can increase talent in a lot of ways. I can increase talent by hiring better people. I can increase talent by developing the people I have. I can increase talent by keeping the people longer that we have and extending this lifetime value prop for every hire that we have. But we have to start rethinking this if we really want to start to utilize AI in terms of how we succeed. So why is measuring the success so difficult? It's the foundation of recruiter performance management is really why it all comes back to. On my LinkedIn profile, if you connect with me, go do that. Would love to, connect with everybody. It says I'm not a life coach. It's because every single CHRO or head of TA that I work with, I feel like I become their life coach because it's rarely to do with their process or their technology. It's almost always to do with simple performance management of how are we actually getting out there and actually measuring what's being done. And again, I'm not one to say, I'm not using measuring the funnel as a hammer. I'm using it for development purposes. I want to know the hiring manager who's treating my recruiters like crap and not and basically continue to just send me more, send me more, send me more. No, we're not going to send you more. We know our job. We know we know the company. We know the job that you have open. Every single person I send you is worth an interview. How about you start to do that? And yet we've created this relationship where we think hiring managers can just push us around and not value the work that we do. It's a nightmare. We need to define success differently. And I talked about this really early in terms of how the C-suite measures it, because this becomes a difficult piece. If your C-suite believes recruiting sucks in your company, recruiting sucks in your company, flat out, no matter what you think and what your measures say. So we have to come together and say, okay, well, what can we show them that they actually think it's working? Again, I go back to capacity, and we could talk, we could spend an hour on recruiter capacity and how we like to measure that and what that could be. And then the other side of this is, especially in the corporate side, this doesn't happen on the agency side. We cannot continue to pay recruiters the exact same wage or similar wage based on what the performance. We have to pay them for performance. We have to pay, they should be exponentially paid differently the better the recruiter. Your top recruiter should make 50 to 60% more than your worst recruiter on your team. Otherwise, you're just not doing it right. And again, do we need to go into that? No, because everybody's going to pay differently. But what I find, again, in the corporate TA world is, oh, well, hey, you're on a 1 to 5 scale, you're a 5 recruiter, you get a 3% increase. You're a 3 recruiter, you get a 1.5% increase. That's not doing it. All right, big AI vision. With the use of AI, we should be able to deliver the predictive fill time within a week of accuracy. I say a week because we're just starting out. Eventually, we'll get really, really good at this, and you'll start to see people get within days, if not hours, of being able to predict this fill time. What that comes down to then also is predicting these fill gaps. So before a job even comes open, before we decide to shoot somebody and fire them, we go to the hiring manager and say, hey, babe, by the way, because of all the AI data that we have, I can tell you that it's going to take us longer than usual to find this skill set again, blah, 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 whatever that might be. Right now, we just open it up and we're like, well, let's see what happens. It's a mystery every time. Shannon talked about this with some of the LinkedIn failure, deep understanding of tool effectiveness and spend. Again, we should eliminate 90% of the waste. I find when I dig into a lot of this stuff, whether it's Indeed spend, LinkedIn spend, programmatic spend, all the things that we're getting into, so much of it is wasted and isn't correlate to success. But we're not doing this in a live way. Again, with an overlay of really good AI and data, we should start to be able to build out these measures. I want a constant A/B testing tools and process. We always think like we have to to turn this stuff on. We have 3-year contract, 5-year contract, blah, blah, blah. Most of these tools we can A/B test, especially in a SaaS world, especially with a lot of the kind of AI stuff that's coming back. 24-hour feedback is a given. because of the nudge technology, the ability for AI to continue to follow up and be this naggy kind of recruiter that we don't want to be because we think they'll hate us. I could care less. And I say prior to the big change, because the big change, if I go back to quality of applicant, and I'm almost done, is before, this is where one-to-one, this is the holy grail of recruitment. Every single time I send you in a candidate, you should already look on your calendar because it's already there. You're going to interview them. We don't even have to have this conversation that you want to interview them. You are going to be interviewing them because you respect me as a recruiter. I respect you as a hiring manager. I would never waste your time on purpose. We're adults. We're going to have some false positives. I might send somebody and they throw up on your desk. Sorry, we're adults. It's going to happen. But 90% of the time it won't happen. And you're gonna just be able to talk to really great people. And we could stop this dumb dance that we do with each other. Okay, like Glenn, connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a book. I have a free ebook, like reimagining, recruiting reimagined. You guys can download that or just go to the URL, click on the QR code.